This is the Haibike SDURO ALLMTN Plus. I've looked at some of the other all-mountain models. The Plus is talking about these much fatter 3-inch wide tires. It's becoming pretty popular out there. Specialized has them on the Levo. They call them like the 6 fatty, and the 6 in that case stands for 650B, which translates to 27.5 diameter. So you end up with a wheel that's almost like the same diameter as a 29er, but it's much fatter, and that gives you traction on soft stuff. So you can see this kind of sandy dirt type thing on the side of the trail here. We've got hard pack over there. That's where a lot of walkers and bikers have been, and then horses have been riding right here, and it's just soft, and you lose some of your control. Well, if you drop the pressure on these tires, they're going to give you more surface area, a lot like a fat bike would, and they're going to give you some comfort. So the PSI is rated lower. They just, they give you more traction and less deflection. So if you're hitting rocks and stuff, you've got more surface area to grip with or just to climb with. It's a pretty cool setup. More and more electric bikes are doing this, and I think in part because electric bikes weigh a little bit more too, and you're going a little bit faster, 20 mile per hour top speed on this one, potentially further. They estimate, like 60 plus miles. It really depends on the assist level you're in, but you can go further, and so comfort becomes an issue. On a bike like this, you've got full suspension, 150 millimeters of travel in the rear with the RockShox Monarch, and we've got the RockShox Lyric up front, same thing, compression and rebound adjust down there. One of the things I love about high bikes in general is just the way they look. It looks awesome. People will come up and be like, whoa, what kind of bike is that? Not, oh, that's an electric bike. Like, oh, they're excited about it, and it performs well, and it performs quietly too. That's one of the things about the Yamaha drive system that we've got. It's a little bit quieter. It also allows you to have 2 sprockets up front, not just one like Bosch or some of the other drive systems that I've seen. So 2 sprockets. This is 2x10 Shimano Dior XT. That's 20 speed electric bike. That's kind of nice. Now that doesn't have shift sensing. I haven't been mashing a whole lot because it uses torque and cadence sensor. So if you ease off on how hard you're pushing, then it's not going to be activating and you're not going to mash. Some of the other bikes, like the Bosch drive system, it has shift sensing, but it's software driven. It's not perfect. And because that motor is it's like, it's a little bit zippier. More noticeable than the Yamaha. I feel like there's the potential for mashing there too. It comes back to just learning about the bike and trying to ride thoughtfully. Anyway, I love the slap guard right here. It's going to keep your chainstay from getting all banged up. Love just the really oversized hardware all across the bike. Back here we've got 12 millimeter through axle with quick release. Same on the front. It's actually 15 millimeter, but also quick release, just really rigid, easy to line up those disc brakes. 203 millimeters up front, and this is the Magura MT5. I think it's like 4-piston design. Same in the back, and I believe this one's 180. So that's kind of the setup. More of your braking power comes from the front. It's a little bit smoother. Both of the levers, Magura MT5s, very nice. Some electric bikes have motor inhibitors built into their braking levers, and this one you don't need it, again, because of how responsive that motor is. So 250 to 500 watt rating on this, 80 newton meters of torque. It's very powerful, really compact, and I love how it's built into this kind of fancy bottom bracket cup thing. Hydroformed aluminum gravity casting interface right here for where the motor comes into contact with the frame, and again, just the really oversized hardware. Very nice. This bike is super solid. And check it out, in this case we've got an XLC kickstand added on, so there are the mounting points right here. A shout out and a thanks to Sam at the Electric Bicycle Center in Fullerton, California. He's letting me try this out and actually take it out onto some terrain that's, I guess, a little bit more suited for a full suspension bike like this. And they call it that all mountain. I don't know if that's kind of like an enduro. You get a little bit of cross-country action. You could do some downhill with the longer travel. It's just a fun bike in general. He was riding it earlier. This is one of the larger sizes. It does come in 4 different sizes, so you can dial it in and get the right fit. Love that it has a seat post dropper, but what I was getting at is the suspension and everything set up for him, because he loves this bike. He's had a blast riding it around. He weighs like 250. I'm only 135, so it's a little bit stiff for me right now. Nice bash guard. Just plastic, but it's going to protect the motor a little bit right up there. These are the pedals it comes with. I gotta, it's kind of nice, actually. They're plastic, but they've got nicer pins, some metal pins, XLC. A lot of times bikes like this come with just the really cheap cage style pedals, and I could actually see using these and maybe swapping them out for clipless occasionally, depending on the rides that I'm doing. Tapered head tube, and you'll see the handlebar right here, really, really wide. We've got these nice locking grips. Again, I think that's just nice to have little things like that, so you don't spend as much money as you would on this. It's $48.99. We're talking about almost $5,000. You're getting the kind of accessories and just hardware that you'd expect from that. Internally routed cables. The color on this is actually kind of a pearlescent white with some black and neon yellow, greenish accents, and I think it looks pretty good. Even the saddle's tied in. That's kind of nice. So I was talking about the dropper earlier. I'm becoming more and more a fan of that as I ride along and climb for a while. You want that high, and you can really accelerate going up hills, and just it feels amazing. You're not getting so worn out, and then boom, you're into a downhill section. You drop that saddle, and you're going to be able to use your legs for shock absorption and just enjoy that ride. I love that. So here's that dropper lever. Trigger shifters on the right and the left in this case, because we have two derailleurs. And then the bar. So you see how it says display protection bend? That's a new design. They're kind of trying to like lower the center piece here, because that's where the display mounts. But then they use these almost like -degree angle stems so that you still get that really forward, more aggressive body position. 3XLC risers right there. It's dialed in. It's not just like, hey, we slapped a motor on it. It's like completely purpose built this way. The display panel is removable, so you can take that off. It does swivel back and forth to reduce glare if you want, although this one kind of has these teeth. You almost have to adjust it and then leave it. Maybe bring your tool, or maybe leave this so it's not super tight, because you can adjust it at a couple angles. I might go ahead and take off the display real quick. There's a little leash loop, so you could, make sure you don't lose this as much. And sometimes if I'm really going hardcore down a hill, I'll just take the display off, because you can still coast. It still works like a bicycle. But then, if you take a tumble, the battery is pretty protected right there, but maybe not the display. The battery on this bike is actually a little bit heavier than the Bosch design, but it's a very similar kind of a look. It slides out the side versus clicking up, so they've really been able to kind of angle that top tube. It's a little bit longer. The motor's a little bit lighter than the Bosch drive system, so it all kind of balances out. They end up weighing about the same, and the specs on the battery are very similar too, where, you've got 36 volt, 11 amp hour, 396 watt hours. Easy to charge this thing on or off the frame. You can see the little door right here. I like that, but the plug itself that they use is, I don't know, it kind of locks in, which is nice in the sense that, it's not going to come unplugged, but then if you trip over the cable, it can knock your bike over a little bit easier. That's something I think about a lot. The charger is also massive and fairly heavy, so it's not the kind of thing you want to bring along in a little backpack. I'm just wearing like a quick pack. A lot of times I'm wearing like a hydration pack. That's one area where I feel like Yamaha could step up their game a little bit, just make it a little bit tighter. And again, I know a lot of mountain bikes don't come with kickstands, but being able to do that, if you have a shop like Sam's, they can get this nice XLC kickstand. It's adjustable length. It looks good, and it's far enough back that, see, I can turn the cranks and it doesn't collide. So I love that. I think we've hit most of the just kind of hardware and talked a little bit about how this might perform. Once the battery is locked on, again, it slides in from the side, we can activate the display using this little button pad. And I love how well sealed it is. Like, all of these it's just plastic kind of coated over little buttons inside. We press the power button, the display starts to come to life. It says, okay, here's your speed, here's the power output of the motor, the time, and then down here you get a few more readouts. But I think it's like a 10 bar battery indicator, much finer increments than you have on like the Bosch powered Haibikes or some of these other ones. And frankly, I like that, because you really get a sense for, okay, how much battery do I have left? It's not just 5 bars, 20%, you've got 10% increments. So I'm gonna go ahead and just arrow through some of these. I've got the S over here. It switches to odometer, distance, battery percentage in addition to those ticks. I love that. RPM, average speed, max speed, and then just your odometer and your complete trip mileage. So it's really a nice setup. Easy to arrow up and down between different levels of assist, of which there are 4. There's like this Eco Plus, which I think is like just a super efficient, you know, if you're trying to maximize range and basically just offset the added weight of the bike at about 52.5 pounds, you can put that one on and you're going to get really good range. Then we arrow up from there and we just get standard eco, standard, and high. So, you know, 3 actual assisting levels, and I tend to like to ride in high and standard for these reviews so you can actually hear the motor spinning. At a higher RPM, like in lower gears, or if you're just really going for it, you hear the motor more. But that's actually pretty efficient for the motor, and I tend to like to spin when I ride. You know, it just feels better on my knees. I've kind of got a knee injury, and that's why I got into e-bikes to begin with. But yeah, you do hear it just a little bit more, so I might hop on and just go for that right now and let you see for yourself. Okay, so I'm in standard. I'm going to take it all the way up to high, and in addition to the noise, watch how quickly it starts and stops when I'm pedaling. We're up to like 15.4 miles per hour. I'm pedaling hard, I'm in high, but in order to really hit those top speeds, I'm gonna need to shift up. And that's just the way the motor's designed. It has like a more limited RPM range than Bosch. So now that I'm shifting up, you know, I'm up to like 18, and pretty quickly I'll be at 20 right there. So that's something I don't love about the Yamaha system. It feels like I'm complementing the motor and changing my ride behavior in order to maximize speed or hit that right RPM, that pedal RPM. And like I said before, I like to spin. So I felt the most comfortable in that lower gear where I was like, yeah, I'm spinning. And yet it only took me up to like 15, 16 miles per hour. It's a trade-off. The Yamaha drive system's a little bit more affordable. Some people really like it. They're like, yeah, you know, it feels more like it's smooth and it's complimenting me versus electric overpowering me or just zipping too much. That's fine. I prefer something that's just a little bit more zippy myself, but this is still really good. Tends to be more affordable again than the Bosch thing. So you have your trade-offs and stuff. Overall, I think, you know, a bike like this is really, you know, we're hitting the sweet spot on the technology where the weight is low and centered. The bike feels good. It's designed to be electric. You've got a really good interface that's removable. You know, you can reduce the weight of the bike significantly by taking off that battery and the display too, and maybe even the wheels. You can throw that in the back of your car. You can go out and you could ascend an awesome mountain ride and then, you know, descend unpowered and just have so much fun that way versus spending all day climbing with only one little ride down. It's almost like a chairlift. So I think it's really cool that way. Just checking that PSI, and it's 15 to 35, so really low. And I think a lot of times these are potentially tubeless ready. Yeah, Evo Evolution, tubeless snakeskin. So you can lighten up the bike a little bit more by taking out the tubes and then get that really low PSI. I'm gonna take it in some of this softer terrain. Yeah, I feel it floating a little bit, but just a lot different than something with like, you know, 2-inch or 2.5-inch diameter tires. confidence levels. It's just that I'm in high. I want to hit full speed, like at a range of gears, not just the highest gears. For the full written review on this, including all the sizes and some other measurements I've done, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, chime in if you've got this. I think they've had it in Europe for a little while, and you might have some other insights I missed. Of course, have fun, ride safe.